Well, here we are at Proof Awards Live 2020. I'm in the Proof Saloon, otherwise today known as the Judging Room, where I have graduated from table number 7 to table number 3. And we've gone up in terms of the trending. If you want to talk about what's really popular and what's going on in the world of spirits and wines, etc., you can really look at how categories grow from year to year. In front of me, and I'll lift them up so that you can see them, is an assortment of whiskeys and moonshines. This is a very distinctive category. There are 7 moonshines in front of us right now. My esteemed judges at the table with me, I'm at a table of 3 judges, we're just really impressed by the fact that there's an entire flight of moonshines that exist to enter in this competition. It's attributable to the burgeoning awareness and awakening of broad spread appreciation for the moonshine tradition. There's shows on TV about moonshining. I think people have made some really terrific moonshines that have made it to the commercial grade market, the retail market, direct to consumers, the traditions of the mountains. There's lots of ways you can talk about these. In Mexico, of course, we have Bacanora. And the Bacanora is like the moonshine of Mexico, made with agave spirits. And as we're learning, moonshine can be made from several different base sweets, things that turn into sugar, that let you turn into the fermentation, that lets you turn into the booze. And whether it's corn or even something as delicious as apples or as funny as sauerkraut, we're here talking about how you can have such a broad array. And of course, the woman behind all of this is our fearless leader. Michelle Tell is the genius behind the Proof Awards. And here, as we get ready to kick off the afternoon judging session, I wanted to bring her on and say how this very category of moonshines is really typical of an expression of all the categories that are growing, because there's a reason why we've got so many entries this year. Michelle, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's been an incredible day at the Proof Awards. I know that you were speaking about moonshine. It's absolutely incredible for us to have this many entries, and it just shows you how the trends change from year to year and how the palate changes from year to year and what's embraced. It's just very exciting to see that moonshine is really rocking our industry right now.
Let's talk a little bit about the expectations everyone has for the Proof Awards this year. It has become, in a very short amount of time, one of the top industry awards, recognizing the talent that's out there in the distilling world. I like to refer to the Proof Awards as the America's Got Talent of the spirits world. Would you talk a little bit about what this event is supposed to be representing? What are you capturing with a snapshot of the actual award winners? What does it say about the industry?
I'm sorry, Jennifer, I'm having a hard time hearing you, but the Proof Awards and what sets us apart from just about every other competition is our platform, that every one of our judges is a buyer. Every one of our judges wants to see these emerging brands become successful, and we're giving an opportunity to all of our buyers that come across the United States to join us for the Proof Awards, an opportunity to taste and experience new and emerging brands from across the nation. And I think when you say that we are a success because my partner, Food and Beverage Magazine, has always been a big fan of helping out the little guy and the new guy. And with all of the emerging brands that are taking place, we want to be able to give them a showcase and an opportunity to make it in our industry.
Let's talk about the fact that we have over 500 labels entered in this year's competition. What does that say about where we are in terms of the caliber and quality of what's in the marketplace, and about our connoisseurship as a sipping culture? I think we might have lost Michelle. Well, we're going to get going with this. And I want to point out that in all judging competitions in the spirits and wine world, there's a spit bucket. And because your palate would get palate fatigue, none of us are trying to do this with an impaired palate. And so to keep our palates fresh, we take breaks. We bring in some, we sip some water. We'll eat a cracker. There are things we do to keep ourselves fresh and keep our palates going. And I have to say, it's really thrilling for us to be here But it's also a bit grueling. And if you wanted to know what 7 moonshine whiskeys or moonshine spirits are
No
like,
sound.
well, you're going to have to stay tuned. What I will tell you, however, is this. Earlier, before we took our break for our lunch, we talked about the fact that we have today, in the hundreds of spirits that have been tested and graded and judged, we have 4 100-point winners thus far. Some
I'm in
years
shock.
we might have none, but the fact that we have at least one is a testament to the quality and craftsmanship of the spirits industry. But we have 4. So brands, if you entered, and you entered in a category that might produce a spirit like this, well, maybe this is you. Maybe you've just hit the gold, the coveted double gold, the Century Award, the 100 points necessary to get the highest honors. We're going to get back to work here, but I want to encourage you to stay tuned, because this is going to be really and truly the season finale of America's Got Talent of spirits. Back to you, Michael Politz. We're here at the Proof Saloon at the Green Valley Ranch. We'll be back. There he is.
Jennifer, thank you. This is truly astounding. I've got judges coming up to Michelle and myself constantly. Constantly. This one, Sean Hackney, will not leave us alone. I almost wonder how he makes a sale. But go ahead, Jennifer. We want to sort of sneak in, be a fly on the wall, and watch you do a tasting and fill out your form. So go ahead. I know you've got some stuff in front of you. Pretend we're not here. We just want to watch.
Yeah.
So
Well,
pretend
you know,
you're not here. Just pretend we're
one of
not
the
here.
things that we do.
Pretend we're not here.
Right. Well, we have.
Right, but
we have
pretend we're not
judgment
here.
sheets. And I'm going to pretend you're not here, but I'm going to go through and do what I do. And of course, it goes by eye. So you look at it, you use all your senses, your nose, you sniff with the aromatics. And of course, we're using the neat glass, and the structure of the glass sort of takes the alcohol and the aroma of the base spirit and sort of separates it out and lets the harder, hotter alcohol aromatics spill over the side of the glass. And we get those really aromatic identification notes of what this is, so that when we go in and we take a sniff, it really is articulate and it tells us what it is. And to me, I almost can get more out of the sniff than a sip. Because when you're going through these, again, you want to avoid the fatigue of your senses getting burned and overloaded. And so very quickly, in a category of 7, you'll find very, very similar, lovely, well-crafted, excellent notes. And then something might jump out at you and say, wow, this is too hot. This is going to get a 2, not a 10. But by going through in almost every judging I've ever done in any category of judging anywhere in the world, something always articulates itself as the best that you experience. And I don't know if my fellow judges think that way, but I've certainly had the experience that no matter what it is, this is where we end up. This one smells a little bit like apples and apple pie spice. And so when you say, is that really a moonshine? Well, what you can see is one has a golden color to it, whereas the other moonshines have this beautiful clarity. And if you watch the moonshine show, well, you get a sense of how hard it is to get to that point. And then you get something really dark and caramel colored with this. And again, this has some really rich flavors. And some of them are just very unctuous and sweet. You can almost smell the molasses. We're indicated that we've got 1, 2, 3 that are identified as moonshine. One's a specialty beverage, one's flavored, and then one is a ready to drink. This is our ready to drink. 50 proof. And then the flavored is only 35. Once you taste it, you wash it around your mouth, and then you spit it out, and then you can really pay attention to what's left. The heat, the burn, the aromatics, what are the flavors that keep coming as it resolves itself and dissipates on the palate, count it through, what are the notes? It's all very interesting. the note of the nose of the cinnamon and sort of apple pie-ness of that really is more delicious in the taste than it is even in the aromatics. And it's as simple as that, Michael. We're going to go through and taste the rest of these. We're not actually drinking any of them. We're just truly tasting. Taking a sip, swirling it around, giving it a nose, giving it a sniff, and
Do the
spitting
next
it
one.
out. That's the only way we can get through the work we have to do today, which is finding the most talented spirits and spirits companies,
Jennifer,
spirits makers in the country.
do you talk to the other judges at the table while you're doing that? Do you guys confer with
Oh,
each
yeah,
other?
absolutely. Absolutely.
So are you guys on the same right now?
And
Or
we were just talking, in this particular category, I was talking to my table mate judge about the qualities of this particular moonshine, and he and I were in agreement that this was one of the more unusual things that we might have encountered today. I don't know that it's also irresistible. I don't know that this company got to what I would call irresistible moonshine, but maybe this is a family recipe and it's exactly what they meant it to be. And so what we have to do is look past whether we like it or not to the quality of it intrinsically as a product that somebody produced. And I think this is a relatively well-made product. So the question becomes, how do you grade it? How do you give it points? Do you let it through the next round? That kind of stuff. Just
I
like
mean,
in any judging
there's some
situation.
big wig,
Again, coming
Jennifer.
back to that America's Got Talent category as an analogy, this I'd say would go to the next round.
There's some pretty big wig judges here with you, right? That could move a lot of products and a lot of brands if they like something.
We'll talk about the fact whether somebody likes it or not. And I am at a table with really esteemed judges.
Okay, so we're gonna let you go and catch up. I know you guys have a lot more tasting to do.
But you know what I realized? That we haven't shared our official Proof Awards toast with the audience. We're going to wait to do that. But
Should we wait? Let's do it now, Jennifer.
We're going to do it in a minute. Anyway, I got to get back to work. We're going on the next round. I'm behind. Cheers.
We're gonna watch. You're gonna stay live, Jen.
Yeah.
We're gonna go the next 3 rounds pretty quickly.
All right. Thank you.
Here's your next one.
Thank you so much. I'm almost done. And I've tasted all of these already, so these are just my revisiting notes.
So next we have bourbons. A blended one and bourbons.
Are you guys good? Yeah? Yes. I'm sorry. I got another.
You want to take this one?
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I'm almost done. Just doing final tallies. I've tasted all of these already, and I've already made my tasting notes, so now I'm just going over and making sure my scores are consistent with what my initial impressions were. This is my final impression.
Your panel is mixed whiskey, mixed whiskey.
You know it says bourbon?
Mine doesn't say it.
Under here it says bourbon.
They're doing this to me.
The first one is blended, but these are all
The table in my
There's 1, 2, 3.
That's why it's
We have
mixed
3
whiskey.
bourbons.
It's a whole, it's 3 bourbons and other whiskeys, so it's just a mixed panel. These are all latecomers. So bourbon, blended,
Just one blended and
2 blended,
yeah,
and 3 bourbons.
yeah.
So we just have it under a mixed panel. So
Gotcha.
that's the best we can do. These are all latecomers that came in at the last
Okay,
time.
I just want to make
No,
sure
I know, I
your
appreciate
notes
it.
are
That
correct.
he went in and gave you a little bit more information for you, some honey barrel, things like that. So that we just call this a mixed
Okay,
group, just
gotcha,
because it came in so late.
gotcha. Gotcha. You see it?
What?
We got 2. She said it's mixed because they're latecomers, but it's 2 blended and 3
Bring up these
bourbons.
vans next to it.
Yes. Just like that.
There you go. Well,
Let's get rid of these first for you.
this.
Yes, thank you.
That would be 833.
Thank you.
And just like that, that's the judging in a nutshell. If you're one of the brands that's participated with us today, you joined me as I was going through my final pass on this table, but the judges, we spend about half an hour evaluating a flight from 3, 4, 5, or even 6 spirits. We're getting a new version right now of a category, and this is regional American
It's bourbons and blended.
bourbons and blended whiskeys.
What are those? Stace?
Those are staying, please. And we've got 5 different spirits. And even just before we get started, one of the first things you're struck by as a judge is look at the different colors that we have. Can you see these? I'm trying to make sure that I. And look at how dramatically different the 2 are, one to the other. Even if you just get a little bit of light shining through them, you get a sense. Whiskey tasting and whiskey education flights and learning more about where whiskeys come from and how the terroir or the taste of place will make a difference in the finished spirit. You can go from everything from the barrel that it's aged in to the beginning mash that you start with to make the whiskey in the first place. But no matter what you end up with, you're going to end up with these colors that are really kind of distinctive and very much representational, to my mind, of what one would expect a whiskey to taste like. And so when you're going from something that is a bourbon whiskey to something that is a regional bourbon whiskey that's a blended whiskey that's aged in a very specific kind of barrel that they've indicated on the label, well, we're really going to get some very dramatically different looking spirits. And that's the first thing you notice when you're looking at all 5 of these at once. Now we'll go into the sniffing and the nose of these. Again, we're going to be using all of our senses. When you're going out anywhere and you go to a bar or you go to a friend's home, or even if you're going to the shop and buying something to taste yourself, always remember that you're tasting with all your senses. And so recently, my friend Andrea Emma Robinson did this amazing champagne tasting on her site. And I would encourage you to go and find it. In fact, I'll post it on my Facebook page again, Jennifer English. But what I'll tell you is I loved how she was describing things and using all of your senses. And as our judging sheets show us, we're using our eyes to look at it, our nose to sniff it, mouthfeel, taste, and finish. The texture of it, the aromatics of it, the way that it feels in the mouth, the way that it lingers, the way that it dissipates. These are all the things that we're charged with taking the time to evaluate. And that's why we're here today. Oh, wow. That smells like a great whiskey. And this is a soft, sweet bourbon. Some of our judges are bourbon experts. I was speaking with one of my friends. We're going to actually do an interview with her a little bit later. She's going to teach us a little bit about what helps her find the best in a bourbon. And for those of you who are going to be gifting bourbons at Christmas time, taking it and merely sending a bottle to someone that you care about is one thing, but then getting online with them and Zoom tasting is another. I mean, it's a really fun way to connect, even if you're in your own home. This is interesting, this number 3. I'm going to talk to my judge friends about this. It says a regional blended American whiskey. Well, wow, that's as general as it comes. There's a sweetness to that. I would be surprised if there isn't a little bit of corn in that, but we'll find out when we start talking to the judges about it. See, this is my kind of sniff. I think this is wonderful. Number 4, that's what that's supposed to smell like. And of course, on this, it's a regional American bourbon. Alcohol by volume, 119%. I think that is, that's got to be 119 proof, not 119%. Nothing can be that heavy. We're going to actually ask about that. But it's really a dramatically articulate aromatic. This is an interesting assortment, and we're going to give them all a sip and a taste. Guys, did you find anything in the sniff portion of this that really stood out to you?
So far, I'm on number 2, and I can smell a good hint. If it was something like honey wise, it was a little sweet, but very smooth.
I like number 3 too.
I haven't got to number 3 yet.
Yeah.
Between 1 and 2, number 2 is really good.
Yeah.
3's a little mysterious.
Yeah, but I'm surprised because all of these seem, the colors are varied, but they still have their own lane, if you know what I mean.
Well, that's true. The colors are varied, and yet they're very much in the same family of whiskeys, but each is in its own silo. Each is in its own lane, and it's not pretending to be anything other than what it is. But see, that's when, if you're on America's Got Talent, you have 5 different singers and you like them all, and they're all good in their own way.
Yeah.
It's like judging. Like, how do you judge? Well, you judge by going back. Which one do you want to go back to? There are questions we ask ourselves. What's the one you want to have one last sip of? What's the one you want to take to the desert island? If you could only have one of these to add to your bar, which one would it be? If this is one you want to know more about, which is the one that was really captivating to you? These are all the kinds of questions that go into this. Hey, Michael, I'm getting a flashing light saying I'm running low on battery. I'm going to go plug in now. So Michael Politz, our esteemed publisher from Food and Beverage Magazine, is the genius behind pulling this off today. And I am grateful to him for the opportunity to taste live with you at the 2020 Proof Awards here at a table of esteemed judges. And we've got some American whiskeys in front of us. When we come back, after we charge everything up, I'm going to let you know what was really outstanding in this assortment. But if it's like anything we've tasted so far today, brands, pay attention. There are 4 100-point winners so far that have been tasted today. And what happens when we find a 100-point winner? Well, we bang the gavel. It's the equivalent of the golden buzzer at this particular show. And so, Michael Politz, back to you. We're going to charge up.
Okay, Jennifer, thanks for joining us today from the judging seat, the hot seat of judges. We'll be back later.
We'll be back later. Welcome to the afternoon session of Judging at the Proof Awards.